Rizzi returned to the hill and combined with the bullpen for a 3-hit shutout as the Rays took Game 2 of the series. Today at the Trop, Matt Moore goes to the hill, looking to complete the sweep and put the Rays back over 500, headed into the All-Star break. We welcome you to Tropicana Field this afternoon. The Rays and the Houston Astros will be wrapping up this 3-game series. This Houston ball club, a power-laden lineup, and the Rays have held them to just 1 run in the first 2 games. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to an afternoon of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson, Dwayne Stats. Great to have you aboard as the Rays and the Astros go at it. Interesting pitching matchup today. The Rays lefty Matt Moore, as you know, coming back from Tommy John surgery, making his 3rd start back. And on the hill, Lance McCullers, just 21 years old, a local product, and he's made quite a splash in the Houston rotation.
And for Matt Moore, it's all about the journey. You know, back at the big league level, first time, full-time back at the big league level in well over a year and a half. And his first 2 starts, there have been some bright spots. There have been some not so bright spots. And that's just the way it's going to go here for Matt Moore in the early going. The things to look for from him today is you start to think about arm strength. You know, check the velocity. Can he get it up there close to where he used to have it? Can he maintain it? And on top of that, his location. Is he able to command the ball where he wants to? Those are the 2 big indicators for success for Matt Moore. Lance McCullers, on the other hand, he comes into the Houston rotation May the 18th, and since then he has put up quite very good numbers. I mean, you think about his stuff, he's got explosive stuff. You're going to see a high-octane fastball, a hard-biting curveball, and a changeup that is really rounding itself into form. Now, he can be erratic with command, but his stuff will pose a challenge to the Rays hitters.
See, Matt, the last time out in Kansas City, gave up 4 runs, 9 hits in a little over 4 innings in that start. And Lance McCullers last worked against the Red Sox. The Astros have held him back a week in deference to his tender age of 21. So it's been a week since he's been out there, and he worked 5 innings against Boston. A couple of the Rays all-star bound. Chris Archer, Brad Boxberger, Todd Callis will have more on that pending trip to Cincinnati when we come back.
Down. The Jesus now trying to get the crowd involved, getting them fired up for this Sunday contest. It'll be Matt Moore on the mound for the Rays and Lance McCullers for the Houston Astros. Two guys who are heading to Cincinnati right after this game are Brad Boxberger and Chris Archer, representing the Rays in the All-Star game. Prior to today's game, they received their All-Star jerseys officially. Boxberger with the 22 saves. Archer will find out around this time tomorrow whether or not he will be the starter for the American League, getting his 22 American League All-Star jersey. Here are the reactions from Chris and Brad on making the team.
This is my first game in my professional career that I've been named an All-Star. And at the big league level, I mean, it's so special. I don't even know how to describe it. I don't know what to compare it to. But I was so focused on, my next start. I didn't really let it sink in, but now that it has, it's a dream come true.
It's definitely exciting. It's an honor to be there and be chosen, and still have to look forward to the game today and get through that, and then all focuses will be on the All-Star game.
Boxberger has saved the first two games of this series. He is available today if the Rays should need him. We'll have the first pitch in less than 3 minutes between the Astros and the Rays. Tampa Bay looking for a sweep and a winning record heading into the All-Star break. Enjoy next.
We're ready to play baseball here at Tropicana Field. The first pitch of the game, presented by Pinch-A-Penny, is fouled away by Jose Altuve, who's leading it off here for the Houston Astros, with Matt Moore on the mound for the Rays. Altuve 1 out of 8 in this series. Last year's batting champion. And the pitch is upstairs, 1-1.
A very eager Matt Moore. I think he jumped the gun a little bit. Ready to go.
Shot to center field. Kiermaier back to his left with room, and he makes the catch. That'll be the first out. So we're just one hitter in, and here will be the starting lineup for the Houston Astros Altuve leading off, as you saw. This presented by your Southern Ford dealers. Marwin Gonzalez hit second, and then Carlos Correa. It's Gaddis the DH, Rasmus in left with Carter hitting sixth. L.J. Ho's in right. Marisnik is the center fielder, and Jason Castro catches and hits ninth. Gonzalez takes a strike. Gonzalez hitting .256. In there from the right side here against the Rays lefty Matt Moore.
Well, and what has led to Matt Moore's uneven performances is, his command has not been where he would like it, and in his 9 innings, he's given up a total of 21 base runners. So you got more than 2 an inning. You're going to give up some runs. And that will be the key here today for Matt Moore. Keep an eye on the radar gun. Keep an eye on location. Is he getting it to where the catcher is setting up?
Now, Tuesday in Kansas City, he faced 24 hitters, 13 reached. The off-speed misses, and it's now 3-1. And that gives you a clear indication that it's still a work in progress for Matt Moore. And this is his 3rd start since coming back from Tommy John surgery. And there's ball 4. He walks Gonzalez.
Well, let's take a quick look here at the Rays defense as it lines up behind Matt Moore this afternoon. Brought to you by BMW. In the outfield left to right, we have DeJesus, Kiermaier, and Sizemore. Across the infield, 3rd to 1st, Longoria, Elmore, Forsythe, and Loney, with Kurt Casale getting the call behind the plate.
Correa, the young shortstop, hitting .275. On twice last night after going 0 for 4 here Friday. Had a walk and a base hit in the game in which the Astros and the Rays played yesterday here at the Trop, and the Rays won that game 3-0. 1-0 the count to Correa. One and one.
Well, you think about Matt Moore and how long it's been for him. It's 17-4 in 2013, and then it comes into 2014, just 2 starts before having to go on the disabled list and have Tommy John surgery, and just the 3rd start back. So it's been a while.
And there's a fastball way up, so It's 2-1. Just 10 innings before he had to have Tommy John surgery last year.
And so that's why you wonder about release point, consistent release point, repeatable delivery. It's one thing to throw on the side and a few games in the minor leagues. Different animal at the big league level.
Shot back into left. That's going to be over the head of DeJesus. One hopping the wall. Gonzalez will go to 3rd on the double by Correa. And Houston with an early threat here in the 1st inning.
And if the command doesn't start to come under control, this Astro lineup is going to sit heater right out over the plate, just like Carlos Correa did, and that could be a bad combination because this team can turn around a fastball, especially when they know it's coming and it's out over the heart of the plate. A very, very powerful, the most powerful team as far as home runs go in the game.
And that's why the Rays pitching in the first 2 games were able to stymie this lineup because, among other things, Ramirez features that changeup, and we saw Odorizzi, same thing, a variety of pitches, but he also has that great split change. Here's Evan Gaddis. He swings and misses the fastball for a strike.
Well, we knew coming in the Rays love the changeup as an organization. They've got a number of pitchers that have very good changeups, and this team, quite frankly, is susceptible to that pitch. We've already seen Matt Moore go to it a number of times.
And he gets the jump on Gaddis. Get the breaking ball in there to him.
Hey, whatever it takes. And now, listen, you put yourself into a position to go for the strikeout. That's what Matt Moore needs here more than anything.
A little tapper 3rd base. Longoria is going to take it to 1st. Now man trying to go to 3rd. He is safe over there. Houston gets a run. Gonzalez scores. Correa on the throw to first. Took off for third and beat the return throw from Loney.
And he almost hung on a little bit too long out there at second, Dwayne. He's making sure, and of course Evan Longoria was going to go for the out, and Correa almost waited too long. And the throw back, it was close. He did get in there, trying to make that read.
Jake Elmore sliding over from third to cover or sliding over from short to cover third. So Correa is safely in. Gaddis gets a run batted in. And here's Kobe Rasmus. Pitch is away. So it's 1-0 Houston here in the first.
And that was a nice job. You know, Evan Gaddis has become very proficient at driving runs in. And that was a very difficult pitch to deal with, to even put it in play and give your team a chance.
2-0. Rasmus hit a home run in the second inning of the game Friday. That came against the right-hander Ramirez. Holds it foul. It's 2-1. So he is 1 for 12 in his career against Matt Moore. All of that when he was with the Toronto Blue Jays. Three and one. And Chris Carter, right-handed hitting first baseman, on deck. High popper, foul ball. Casale's after it. So's Longoria, and that ball disappeared up there. Stayed up there. Longoria and Casale both looking for that one, and what would have been an out turns out to be just a foul ball.
Well, in one of the rings in foul territory, and unfortunately that's the way it goes. Major League Baseball.
There's a troll up there collecting baseballs. 3-2. This one is popped up, coming straight back, and that's going to be out of play. Well, Rasmus trying to dislodge that foul ball that disappeared up there with the second one.
That's how you do it as a kid. You take if you have one other ball, you keep firing it up there till you knock the other one down. That's the way you play it.
Yeah, and you hope the second one doesn't get caught, because then you got to find something else to do. 3-2 again, and that's ball four. Second walk of the inning, putting Houston runners at first and third. And you want to stay out of the power zone of Chris Carter.
Yes, because he does have a zone and he has a ton of power. You see the average, he's all or nothing. What will be interesting to see is the leash that Kevin Cash has with Matt Moore, because you want to build his pitch count up. You want him to build his arm strength up. You want to continue that development, getting comfortable back at the big league level, but you got a game to win. And with the 4 days off, you can manage this game a little bit more aggressively than maybe some others, because everybody's available. You get 4 off days.
The first pitch strike to Carter. Yeah, it's all hands on deck.
This is a playoff game. If you choose to, you can manage this game like a playoff game, just because of the break that you're going to get. But at the same time, you want Matt Moore to be able to throw some pitches. That's why you're hoping for some success early.
There's a high popper, short center. Kiermaier keeping his eye on that one, and he makes the catch. So the damage is just 1 run, 2 men left, and the Rays are coming in to hit. Front. This will be the lineup for the Rays, presented by your Southern Ford dealers. John Jaso again leads it off. He's the DH. Grady Sizemore is in there, hitting second, playing right field in front of Evan Longoria. Hitting third, then James Loney, Logan Forsythe, David DeJesus, the left fielder. Jake Elmore hits seventh, playing shortstop. Kevin Kiermaier eighth, and Kurt Casale ninth.
They're going to go up against right-hander Lance McCullers, just 21 years old. And his season so far came into the rotation middle of May, making his 11th start. Already has a complete game. Look at the ERA. Look at the strikeouts. Look at that opponent's average. That all speaks to stuff. It's explosive.
And here's John Jaso as the Rays get their first look at McCullers. And it's a first pitch fastball in around 94, 95 for a strike. And another one at 96 that time.
Ball comes out of his hand nicely. He really does a nice job of driving the ball towards home plate.
Jaso is out on 3 pitches. That starts the bottom of the first. Now you get a couple of those fastballs and then get a pitch like this.
And there's the changeup. Kind of splits the fingers a little bit. And, you know, you're trying to protect 95, 96, and all of a sudden that thing drops out of nowhere and you can't hold up.
Yeah, that's a kind of a new and improved weapon for him. And you can see how effective it could be already.
Well, as a starting pitcher, you always would love to have 3 viable pitches. And he's always had the fastball and a real sharp hook, curveball with good down action. Changeup's been inconsistent, but you're right. That's starting to come around, and look out.
2-0 the count to Sizemore. One. To strike on the fastball.
Well, you can imagine that the Rays hitters, you know, they've not seen Lance McCullers before, so they're going to see a lot of heat early as he tries to establish that pitch and then start to bring the secondary stuff along as the game goes on.
3-1. Evan Longoria on deck. Chopped foul to take the count full. See Sizemore at 237 in a Rays uniform with a home run. Also a couple of 2-base hits. And strike 3 called. He thought the pitch was a little wide and said so to Toby Basner, the plate umpire.
Well, let's go ahead and set that Astro defense and see how it's going to line up. Maybe some of these balls will get put into play. They'll try to make a play. A couple of strikeouts early for McCullers, but here we go. Astro defense brought to you by BMW in the outfield left to right. Rasmus Marisnik and Hose across the infield third to first. Gonzalez, Correa, Altuve, and Carter with Jason Castro behind the plate.
But Longoria takes a pitch in. 1-0. Houston shifting for Longoria. The count goes to a ball and a strike. You saw Sizemore complain a little bit about that call third strike, and Toby Basner will be a little liberal on the interpretation of the strike zone side to side. 1-2.
And you know why I think he was upset? If you go back and you have to, if it's being DVR'd or you can rewind it, the second pitch of the at-bat was in the same spot. It was called a ball to go 2-0. And I think that's where a hitter goes, well, if you establish that as a ball, he comes back to that pitch with 2 strikes, and I recognize it out there again and take it. Now it's a strike. Well, that's why he's going to be upset.
Cut and a miss. Longoria's out on strikes. McCullers strikes out the side. Got him with the fastball. We go to the second. 1-0 Houston. brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By Morgan Auto Group. Make it Morgan. We make it happen. Houston got a run in the first, leaving 2 men aboard. 24 pitches in the opening inning for Matt Moore. L.J. Ho's just up from Fresno will lead off here in the second inning. 1-0. Houston bringing a right-handed bat in here against Moore, and he's immediately in the lineup. Now a ball and a strike. Hose had been hitting .327 at Fresno, as you see there, with 47 runs batted in. On the ground is short. Jake Elmore makes the throw. 1 away.
Well, you got to figure Jake Elmore's going to get some time out there at shortstop with this Drupal Cabrera on the shelf. One of those versatile players. You know, he started the ball game yesterday in left field. How about that move? Left field right into shortstop. A whole lot closer to the action.
Yeah, Tim Beckham is back up from Durham, with Cabrera going on the disabled list with the hamstring injury. Nick Marisnick takes a pitch down and in.
The only plus side to that injury is you've got 4 days to help with the healing process where nobody's playing, and you don't miss them for those games.
Loney after this one, will it stay playable? The answer is not quite. Loney reaching into the stands and just off that big mitt. And Loney falling into the stands. Everybody's all right, and that's a no play. Upset that young fan right there, but everybody's good.
It's a big man coming at you, trying to reach in. Uh-oh. Oh, interference. And wearing a Tampa Bay hat. Did not help.
So it's now 1-1. Now a ball and 2 strikes. Interesting perspective for that youngster there, having big James Loney headed in his direction.
So that is a big man coming over that wall.
That's a cut and a miss. Rusnick is out on strikes. First strikeout for Matt Moore.
Keeping the heat low. Middle of the plate down, and it's the swing and a miss. You'd like to see that from Matt Moore, have a nice efficient inning after getting worked a little bit in the first.
Jason Castro, the Houston catcher, up there, and the pitch comes in a little high. Starts him with a breaking ball. Two and 0. Well, Matt's 17-4 in 2013 and 27 starts, and then made just 2 starts last year. A little popper into shallow left, and that's going to fall for a base hit. Fastball, and Castro just got enough of it down on the bat and sent it into shallow left. You see Matt and his trail the last few years. Tommy John surgery after those 2 starts last year. Came up primarily with the fastball and the curveball and the changeup. Added a cutter to the repertoire of pitches. And the first pitch strike to Altuve. Lifts the fly ball center field. Kiermaier puts it away. Base hit with 2 outs and a man left. Through an inning and a half, 1-0 Houston.
That changeup influenced by the Rays' Alex Cobb. Here's Lance explaining.
I was working over here in Largo at Star Care, and Alex was working out there as well. And we were just kind of talking about pitching and changeup and that kind of stuff. And I'm explaining to him my issues with the changeup that I was having, and he said he kind of went through the same thing until he found this grip that has kind of worked for him and some other power pitchers that he has given it to. So I kind of took it and ran with it, made it a little bit of my own, and it's been a really big pitch for me.
It has been an outstanding pitch. He changed from the circle change, a variety of the Alex Cobb and Jake Odorizzi learned changeup, and that's a pitch that Brian Anderson's familiar with.
Yeah, that's for sure. And if you're going to be a starting pitcher, that third pitch certainly comes in handy. 2-0 the count here to James Loney.
And the version that Lance McCullers throws is a similar version to what I threw. I spread my fingers a little bit further than he did. Now, this was in college, and it was a great strikeout pitch, but it was a pitch that also led to some forearm tightness, back. So I went away from that to more of the circle change, and that's what I threw the majority of my career. But the grip that he has, similar to Alex Cobb, he moved the ball a little bit, but with the changeup, there are so many different grips that you can go to. The bottom line is your index finger and your middle fingers. James Loney takes a walk here. Those are your power fingers, and any way that you can get your power fingers out from behind the baseball, that's a changeup. These are your guys. They stay behind the baseball. That's where you're going to get the fast. You can go to the side, the circle change, or the way McCullers does it, right off the seams like that. Just spread them. Any way that you can get those two fingers out from directly behind the baseball, that can be considered a changeup.
Now, Cobb's a little wider with his grip.
And towards the horseshoe. Yeah, he's a little bit wider up towards the horseshoe, and McCullers is back this way, a little closer. But, like I said, the bottom line, and you see column A, he's got like the 3-finger, prong grip. There's so many different grips with the changeup, but you just get those 2 fingers out from behind the baseball, however it feels comfortable to you, and then let it rip. Because when those guys aren't back there, you cannot physically throw the ball as hard as you can when they are.
But you can throw it with the same motion, the same arm action, but the grip won't allow you then to throw it as hard as you do with a fastball.
It's like changing golf clubs. You take a nice smooth swing at the driver, the ball's going to go a long way. You take that same swing with the 7-iron, you haven't changed anything but the club, and the ball's not going to go as far and as hard. And that's the same thing with the grip. You just change the grip, throw it just like you do with the 4-seam fastball. It's just not going to get there.
And that's the big part of the deception, because you're going to have that same arm action, same delivery as a fastball, except it's going to be 5-10 miles per hour. A little slower getting there. Out at second and safe at first on the roller by Forsythe. Correa to Altuve to get Loney on the force play. One out, Forsythe the runner. So 1 on, 1 out for David DeJesus. Well, McCullers interesting. This young man, just 21 years old. He'll be 22 in October. And before the Astros called him to the big leagues, he had not pitched. In fact, in the minor leagues, he only was in one game in which he threw more than 5 innings, and that was 6 innings.
That's hard to believe.
And his pitch count had not gone over 90 except for once. There's a shot toward the gap. Right center field, extra bases. Forsythe's going to be waved around. DeJesus digs for 3, and the throw, safe. Braves tie it on a triple by David DeJesus.
Well, the defense could not have been set up better for David DeJesus on where he hit that baseball. He's going to split the defenders out there in center and right in Marisnick and Hose. And with that play happening out in front of him, he predetermined that he was going for 3. He gets a heater. Boy, does he drive that pitch very, very well. Head down. And right there, he's thinking, gonna get to third.
Infield comes up with Jake Elmore in the batter's box. First pitch to Jake is a fastball in the mid-90s for a strike. Jake hitting .210 right now. Boy, he drew that big walk in the 3-run second inning yesterday for the Rays. And now he's down in the count. That's the good hard curveball. And that's a power curve.
Yeah, at 85 with that kind of spin and finish, no doubt about it. You think about here 0-2, if he goes back to it, maybe he bounces one.
Upstairs.
See,
1 ball, 2 strikes.
He's got, that fastball there where you go upstairs with it. You'd love to get the chase. You don't get it. That sets up that curveball so nicely. That's a combination of pitches that he can play with very well. Same thing with the changeup.
A little wide. 2-2. Elmore right now trying to snap it 0 for 18. And a cut and a miss. Fastball takes care of Elmore.
You just don't have a lot of time to make up your mind with that kind of velocity. So Jake already looking to protect, trying to put the ball in play, drive in a run, and he gets his fastball. Boy, he almost had a little cutting action to that because he's trying to drive it to the outside corner. A little side spin right off the end of the bat.
Now Kevin Kiermaier against the hard-throwing right-hander in a tie game. Gonzalez up at third.
Way up.
The pitch is a strike. He's the only man on that side of the infield.
And that shows you the respect that this team has for Kevin Kiermaier's speed out of the box. Thinking about if he lays one down, he's already playing, basically bunt defense at third.
And a cut and a miss. The ball loose. Here comes the runner down from third, and DeJesus scores standing up. Well, that breaking ball in the dirt. And DeJesus scores the go-ahead run.
The only reason that's at the forefront of your mind is you think about the Rays starter who's got a power curveball, and that's Nathan Karns. And Nathan Karns leads the league in wild pitches because you snap dragging that curveball down into the dirt, and sometimes it's a hard pitch to control. And you talk about it, and here it comes to fruition, and the Rays take the lead.
So on the wild pitch, the Rays have a 2-1 lead. Now the count, a ball and 2 strikes on Kiermaier. Two and 2. Kiermaier on the ground. Correa angles back to make the pickup and the throw. And out of the shift, Kiermaier retired. The Rays get 2. De Jesus triples home a run and scores 1 on a wild pitch. 2-1 Rays. Third, our Toyota trend since the Astros have gone into the American League. The Rays have gone 12-4 against them, holding their lineup to a 162 average. And while this lineup they put out there now, in what has been a turnaround year for the Astros, is not a high average lineup, but it is a highly leveraged lineup when it comes to home runs. They're tops in home runs with 123.
It's a powerful lineup that will punish you for mistakes, but you can make pitches against them, and if you do, you will have success. You know, those 12 wins the Rays have against them since they've come to the American League, 6 of them have been shutouts, including yesterday. So, you know, this is a pitching staff that executes at a high level. And guess what? You can throw out all the big home run guys you want. You stay out of the middle of the plate, and they have a hard time.
Gonzalez ahead, 3-1. Morrow walked him. Yeah, there's the home run breakout in the major leagues, American League and National League, and Houston with a fair lead with 123.
And here's the other thing that the Rays have done so far in this series. You know, their top stolen bases too. Their top stolen base threat is Jose Altuve. He's 1 for 10 in the series, so they've kept their best base stealer, base runner off also. So you control, with good location, good execution, you control the home run, and with 25 stolen bases for Altuve, you keep him off base.
See Houston tops in home runs and steals. Slugging percentage, they're 5th, 4th in runs. Cutting them is. Gonzalez out on strikes, and they have a big lead in strikeouts. as we discussed the other night, about 100 more than the Rays, who strike out a lot as well, but not quite as much as Houston.
No, when you're 1-2 in the American League and the lead was 99 coming into the series.
Yep.
Well, that's what happens when you talk about those low averages and big power numbers. It's all or nothing. And there's a number of them that are like that.
1-0 to Carlos Correa, the shortstop. What do you think about the youth on this Houston club? You know, Correa was in high A ball last year. McCullers was in high A ball last year. So they've made rapid progress.
Boy, and when you move guys that quickly, you've got to be sure of the mental makeup, because you set yourself up for some bumps in the road, and you hope that doesn't affect these guys, mentally, and really put them behind the 8 ball.
Well, the last thing you want is a talented pitcher, position player, to come up too soon and be overwhelmed, because then you've got not only the physical element, but you've got the psychological element to deal with. Count is full now as you foul that fastball back. Matt made 24 pitches in the first, had a 12-pitch second inning. Back-to-back full counts here in the third. And he walks Correa. That's the third walk given up by Matt. And all of that lends itself to the issue of command coming back in his third start from Tommy John.
And when he was healthy, it wasn't like Matt was pinpoint with everything. I mean, he was a guy that was going to give you, 5 2/3, be around 100 pitches, in that range.
Well, you look at the big year he had in 2013. He was 17-4 through 150 plus innings and walked 76 then. Gaddis pops it up, it hits, and now falls into fair territory, but it hits in foul territory, which makes it a dead ball. So it kicked back into fair territory. So we've had a couple of those already in this game. We're not even through 3 innings.
Arena baseball.
Well, that figured to be at the outset a pop foul that would be caught. See Casale after it, and now he has to change directions, but it hits up there in foul territory, which makes it a dead ball.
If you show that angle without the understanding that there are rings up there, you wonder what Kurt Casale had for breakfast. Like, where are you going? I mean, it's a direct left turn.
So it down and blocked by Casale. 1 on, 1 out. We're in the third. Well, that's 2 extra outs now that Moore is going to have to get. And you know how crucial that is. Somebody makes an error behind you or drops a foul ball. You give the opposition 1 extra out, you're concerned. Well, that's 2 already in this game. Down to third, in and out of the glove of Longoria on a fine stop. That ball headed up the left field line. Evan got his glove down there, but could not hold it. Boy, what a play that would have been on the sharply hit ball by Gaddis.
There's just very little time to react, and Evan Gaddis is a strong man. He hits his ball hard, and Evan, as he's going down to his right with the backhand, just not able to get it into the pocket of the glove. Squirts away, but he did save extra bases.
And with Correa running, that could have been a run.
Yeah, I mean, when you start to look at where David DeJesus would have been positioned, Correa's a long strider.
First and second, 1 out. Here's Colby Rasmus. Pitch is a strike. Moore pitching with a 2-1 lead, and Houston has a third inning threat. One and one. Rays at 45 and 45 coming into this game. Houston at 49 and 41. Houston a half game up in the American League West over the Angels. Pitch is up and it's 2-1. Rays tied for third in the East. 3.5 back, tied with Toronto. Byam up. It's 2-2. And he got him. Strikeout. The second of the inning. Third of the game for Moore.
Almost looked like a predetermined swing. Colby Rasmus is going to swing anyway, and then realizing, ooh, that ball's off the plate, try to hold up. But definitely goes after what would have been ball 3, and instead it turns into strike 3.
Here's Chris Carter. And he sends a high fly ball back into left. To Jesus and Kiermaier. It's going to be Kiermaier toward left center, making the grab. 2 men left. We go to the bottom half of the third. 2-1 Rays. Sports brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% on car insurance. By Checkers. Mix and match our famous Big Buford and Big Chicken Deluxe. And by Pixels. In theaters July 24th. Kurt Casale will open the bottom of the third. 1 ball, no strikes. Casale, then Jaso and Sizemore. Baseball foul right back into the screen. Now 1-1. The Astros shift for Casale on the infield. He drives it back into straightaway center, and Marisnik to his right. It was an interesting setup there with the infield playing him completely to pull on the shift, and Marisnik in center field was shaded way toward right center field. That ball in straightaway center. He had to cover ground to his right.
Well, you see that a lot. Guys that will pull the ball on the ground, but in the air have a tendency to the other way, and you see their setup. I mean, these two teams do it more than anybody else, and they've got their data that shows them where to put these guys. In fact, we've seen a couple of the Rays outfielders, little cheat sheets, make sure that they know where to go on each and every hitter. Same thing here. Infield to pull, outfield to shade to go the other way.
1-1 the count on John Jaso.
Right there, and you got the little picket fence over here on the right side.
Jaso misses the breaking ball, and it's 1-2. Jaso came off the disabled as Red Hot came into this game, hitting .421. And is out on strikes, reaching for that one. It's 5 strikeouts for McCullers. Time now for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #SSData_StrongFan. And you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Well, McCullers struck out the side in the first. Picked up 1 in the second and 1 here in the third. And here is Grady Sizemore again. He starts him away, and that's a ball, 1-0. Sizemore and the plate umpire, Toby Bassner, trying to get together on that strike and non-strike call away from him on that outside part of the plate. 1-1 to count.
Well, he had one early in the at-bat that was taken for a ball, and then he gets rung up on really essentially the same exact pitch. And so that's where, hitters, they always don't have to love a guy's strike zone. As long as it's consistent, they can live with it. And once that line is crossed, then you'll start to hear the chirping from the hitter and the dugout, manager, and anybody else.
And a cut and a miss. Sizemore missed the breaking ball. Back-to-back strikeouts and a quick third. We're headed into the fourth. 2-1 Rays. Packs come with one of 8 great gift items of your choice, starting at just $59. Rays Flex Packs allow you to choose any 3, 6, or 9 games with no blackout dates. Plus, get half off parking when using the funds loaded on your Rays card. For details, visit RaysBaseball.com or call 888-FAN-RAYS. L.J. HOU's just up from Fresno. Leads off the fourth. There's the first pitch strike from Matt Moore. Pitch a fastball in around 90. Oh, 2. Little tapper. Moore's going to have to make the pickup and the throw into the runner, and he's safe down there at first base. Boy, you could see that from the beginning. It had a chance to be challenging, and HOU's is aboard.
When a guy lays down a bunt, you get off the mound a whole lot smoother because you know what's coming. This one, a little bit late coming off the mound because it's a swing, and then you had to get it into your hand to be able to make the throw, and you catch L.J. HOU's in the backside.
Well, I think Kevin Cash wants to see if the umpiring crew knows exactly where HOU's was, if he was in the running lane or not, because something like that might make the difference. And I guess he's assured that he was.
Well, anytime that James Loney, he's a left-hander, he's got reach, is not able to get to a ball, you are absolutely, going to wonder that. But HOU's is,
I'll tell you, HOU's is close. Not in the running lane.
Close.
He's not in that lane at all. So the Rays had a case right there. Rusnick fouls it back. Interesting about that is anytime a runner hits first, he's got to leave the runner's lane, obviously, to actually touch first. But HOU's was outside on the infield side of the running lane all the way down.
And that's why I don't even understand the running lane, because no one on a ground ball is going to run into the running lane over here. The base is on the other side. You're going to, it's the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen on a baseball field, because the base being on the foul line, obviously, and then inside, you're going to run inside. You're going to run a straight line to the bag. If you run in the running lane, now all of a sudden you got to shift and get a lane over and put your blinker on. It's ridiculous.
But you do see that called, and there's a case where all Cash could do was ask the umpire, and the umpire is either going to say, no, it stands the way it is, or I saw him and he was in the runner's lane. In that case, he couldn't have actually seen him in the runner's lane because he wasn't in the lane.
No, you just have to be way in on the grass. You got to be egregious with it. Really angling yourself that far on the other side. If not, you can never fault a base runner for running directly up the line and through the bag. You're not going to run way out here to then come angle yourself back here on a ball that's hitting the infield. You're just not going to. But if you're way inside, some of those guys will push it and they'll get on the cut of the grass. Well, now you're really violating, and that's when usually you get banged for it.
So what do you think? They should extend that running lane then just a little bit to the fair side of the baseline?
Absolutely. No one is going to run out there unless it's a single to the outfield. No one's going to run out there. That's just stupid to even have.
It's a foul ball, yet, from time to time you see that call made.
You see that if they're in the grass. If they're in here, if they guys are in here, then you set yourself up to be called for that, because you're trying to create an angle now where you go away from the throw. If not, you run right up here and right through the bag. That's the way you do it. Nobody's been taught any other way on an infield ball to run except right straight through the bag. Now, if you cut way in, well, then you're leaving yourself open to interpretation, and maybe you are trying to create an angle, and they can get you if you're in here, no doubt about it. But if you're running right up here through the dirt, you're not going to run out here, and then I'll just angle over here and maybe beat it out.
But, I have seen that call made when a guy's still on the dirt on the fair side of the line.
Well, then
every once in a while you see it.
That you do. You absolutely do, and that's no doubt. But
Sizemore and Wright will handle this one for the first out. Marisnik retired.
A lot of it, too, depends on where the ball's hit. You know, if it's a bunt right out in front of the plate and you jump and you're running right along the cut of the grass, you're still in the dirt, but you've angled yourself to where you know the catcher has no room to make that throw, then, you know, those are the opportunities that an umpire can say, listen, you know when a guy's trying to skirt and when he's just running, you know, up the baseline. That's why it's a judgment call, and you can't do much about it as far as the challenge goes.
Want to know the count to Jason Castro. Yeah, and as far as the challenge is concerned, you can't challenge that play anyway.
No.
The game just gets more complicated every day, doesn't it?
The only thing that's worse is my drawing.
Well, it's kind of modernistic. 1-1 to count on the Houston catcher.
Yeah, the two things on a baseball field that are the most just ridiculous boundary is the running lane and the coach's box. Name me a coach that's ever been in the coach. Look at them now.
Yeah.
They're not even close.
But, you know, we're talking about that. The Rays had a game against the Indians here when Francisco Lindor was called out for that, and it wasn't as egregious as Ho's. That's a force at second base. Boy, with that shift on, that gets to be a little bit of a challenge, and Elmore got over there to retire Ho's. You know, that was on the last homestand.
Yeah.
And he was called out on interference on a throw from the pitcher down to first for being outside that lane.
I think that a lot of times these umpires will try to, you know, gauge intent. You know, you can see when a guy comes out of the box if he's busting it right up the line or if he's angling himself, you know, 6-8 inches in to try to create a bad angle. You know, you could just, you can tell a lot of the time, but you're right, he did get called for that, and it was very similar.
The strike to Altuve. So it's Castro at first with 2 outs. Two. Colomé starting to get loose in the bullpen. Moore's pitch counts closing in on the mid-70s. So it certainly could be one of those all hands on deck days here leading into the All-Star break. Drive hit deep to left, and that one is out of here. An 0-2 fastball, and Altuve, who'd been 1 for 10 in the series, hits his 8th home run of the year, and that's going to give Houston a 3-2 lead.
Well, I think that's why you see Alex Colomé up, because it's been an up and down outing for Matt Moore, and up to this point had only given up the 1 run, but inconsistent with the command. And right there, you know, an 0-2 heater that was just center cut for Altuve. Look where this pitch ends up. Middle at the belt.
So it's a 1-run game now in favor of Houston. Here's Gonzalez, pitch down and in. Down to third. Longoria's got that one, and the throw to first in time. 2-run score for Houston on the home run by Altuve. 3-2 ball game. fourth to make it a 3-2 contest. And so the Rays will have Evan Longoria, James Loney, and Logan Forsythe coming up in the bottom of the fourth. Lance McCullers has made 44 pitches through the first three. The Rays got him for a couple runs in the second. He has 6 strikeouts and has given up 1 base on balls. Longoria struck out on a mid-90s fastball his first time and sends a high fly ball back into right. Hose to the track and he leaps and makes the catch. Hose had a little room left out there, maybe not quite sure how much, and that little leap, and he hauls it in.
That is exactly it. You know, he had to go back a ways, you know, not used to the dimensions of this ballpark. Right, he makes the jump, and good 5-6 feet behind him. This outfield can be difficult for teams that don't play here very often. And we've seen throughout these series, the ball goes up in the air and the eyes will not leave it. Sometimes when you do that, you're not quite sure where you are.
So you keep your eyes on the fly ball and take your chances with your location.
That's about right, because, you know, how many times have we seen it? How many times have we seen, you know, visiting players take their eyes off that ball for a split second or even just can't find it off the bat? It's a difficult ceiling here, roof to deal with.
Loney lays off the changeup 1-2. One of the complaints with McCullers' changeup before he's gone to this grip is that it was a little too firm, not that much separation. And we've still seen that changeup 90, 91. I think that last one was 89. And that strike 3 call, a hard curveball, and he takes it for strikeout number 7.
When we had the close-up showing that pitch from that close center field camera look, his fingers are not, well, you see how he rips over a curveball right there to freeze James Loney, but his fingers weren't that far apart. So you want to get those power fingers out from behind the back of the baseball, but if they're spread just a little bit, you're still going to get some velocity. The more you spread them, the less velocity. So if he wants to take even more off, then he's going to need to get them a little bit wider on the baseball. That will take off more velocity. But the way that he had them, you understand why it's a hard changeup, because they weren't that far apart.
1 strike to Logan Forsythe. Logan reached out a fielder's choice and scored in the second inning. Tap is foul, just in behind the plate umpire, Toby Bassner.
The problem is, and I'm sure this is thinking in his mind, maybe it is, maybe it isn't, would be for me, but the further you spread those fingers, if you don't have giant long fingers and big hands, it starts to put tension up the forearm and into the elbow, and we know what that can lead to.
And there is strike 3 call. So a couple strikeouts here to close out the Rays in the fourth. It's 3-2 Houston.
Ago as an 18-year-old, and today in less than an hour, 3 o'clock start, the Rays will have a couple of players who you may see here at Tropicana Field in the near future. Richie Schaefer, 24-year-old third baseman, having a monster year both at Montgomery and now AAA Durham, and the lefty Blake Snell got off to that incredible start. Schaefer's in the lineup, batting fourth. The lefty Snell we may see in the game. He started the year at Class A Port Charlotte, now pitching for the Montgomery Biscuits. Guys, when Correa, as an 18-year-old, was in that game at the Futures Game of City Field in New York, he had an upper deck shot or two in batting practice. We've seen him put on some BP exhibitions here at the Trop, including one into the party deck in this series, guys.
Yeah, when you look at where Snell has been and Class A, Double A, that's the exact route that McCullers has taken through the Astros farm system.
Yeah, why is he not starting?
I mean, McCullers, he was at High A Lancaster last year, was at Corpus Christi this year, and hadn't pitched over 6 innings, and that only once in a game. And he's making his 11th start for the Astros here today. And Todd chronicled Correa, young man, just 21 years old, or soon to be.
Well, he was their mega prospect, first overall pick, 2012. Shoots right through the system. He's able to create a ton of leverage with his swing, being 6'4".
Lifts it into right field for Sizemore, and he takes care of that. Correa, 20 years old. He was sidelined last year with a broken leg, but he had 325 at Lancaster. And then you can see what he was doing this year at Double A and Triple A in 53 games, and they said, well, they've seen enough, get him up here.
Well, and you see right there, 7 home runs. I guess it's contagious. You come up to the big leagues with this club, did have 10 in the minor leagues, but 7 in just 32 games. They swing big boy sticks up here.
Well, those bats get better wood when you get to the big leagues. 1 strike to count on Gaddis on a foul ball. It's a hardwood bat rack in Houston with all the home runs they've had. 1-1 to count. One and two. Matt Moore pitched 4 1/3 against Kansas City Tuesday. He made 85 pitches. He's at 83 right now. And a foul ball. Holds the count at 1-2. Brandon Gomes is up in the Rays bullpen down the right field side. Down to third. Longoria takes care of that with a throw to first. So 2 gone in the 5th. Hey, mind your own biscuits, and life will be gravy. Saturday, July 25th, when Casey Musgraves performs a free concert on the field after the Rays play the Orioles. She'll play her hits Biscuits and Follow Your Arrow. For more information and to purchase on-field wristbands, visit RaysBaseball.com/concerts or call 888-FAN-RAYS. Rays up. Colby Rasmus takes ball 1. Walk and a strikeout for Rasmus. A 2-0 count. High fly ball, left center. Kiermaier on the run. He is there, just in front of the track. 1-2-3 go the Astros. Rays coming in to hit, down 3-2. the St. Petersburg Police Department. Chief Williams instrumental in creating the Park Walk and Cheer program with the Rays in 2015. The program promotes positive relationships between officers and the community and rewards good citizenships with tickets to Rays games. We raise up for our heroes. How do you raise up? David DeJesus, who tripled in a run and scored a run in the 2-run second, leads off the fifth. Takes the pitch too low from Lance McCullers. McCullers allowing those 2 runs, and that's about it. The hit by DeJesus, the only hit. The liner into center. DeJesus is 2 for 2. Fastball and ahead the count. He hit that ball hard.
Yeah, he's seeing the ball well right now off McCullers, because both times fastballs, and he's not mishitting them. This was a missile. Now leadoff man aboard, down by 1. Get to work.
Jake Elmore, a strikeout victim his first time. Runner goes, and the pitch is fouled out of play.
You know, you wondered if the Rays would get a little aggressive. You start thinking, okay, would he bunt here? Probably not. Maybe bunt from second to third. But you put a man in motion. You got a guy at the plate, Jake Elmore. You trust to be able to handle the bat in that situation, and what amounted to a hit and run attempt.
Strike 2.
There have been 0 stolen base attempts against McCullers in his 10 starts, now 11.
Ground ball, that's going to go through. Base hit to right, down to second goes DeJesus. And the Rays put the first 2 men aboard in the 5th inning. Boy, Elmore feeling good about that one. And snaps an 0 for 19 for Jake Elmore.
In an 0-2 count. He had the added benefit of Chris Carter holding David DeJesus on, makes that hole on the right side a little bit bigger. And he just stuck the bat out. That was it. Stuck the bat out, found a hole.
Two men on, nobody out for Kevin Kiermaier. They overload the right side. Kiermaier shortens and takes the pitch for a strike.
Well, not only are obviously the Astros shifting aggressively, but now you've got to run the bunt play out of the shift.
Now Correa is going to move just to the shortstop side of the bag a little bit. Kiermaier takes it down. Breaking ball.
A cat and mouse game. No bunt show right there by Kevin Kiermaier. Marwin Gonzalez is not only in, but he's right on top of the third base line right here.
The foul back. Mid-90s fastball runs the count to 1-2. It's DeJesus on second, Elmore at first. Two and two. Casale is on deck. Ground ball first, knocked out by Carter. And he's going to take the play at first, and that's it. Sharply hit. Carter got his mitt on it to knock it down, and the Rays now put two men into scoring position.
Well, and you think about maybe Chris Carter, if he comes up with that clean, he could start a potential double play, but I don't think you can get Kiermaier on that. So maybe he would have gotten the lead man in Jake Elmore. That would have been a better get. But we've seen some sharply hit balls against Houston infielders where the Rays have been able to benefit. Scored a couple of runs the other night on a ball mishandled by Correa that was hit hard, and a ball that forced Chris Carter to dive for. See if they can turn this into a run or two.
Kurt Casale with 2 men in scoring position. Takes it inside. There's the curveball that stayed in. Everything firm from McCullers. Fastball, curveball, even the changeup. It's 95 and in there for a strike.
We always talk about a guy getting to 2 strikes first before he starts thinking strikeout. He thought strikeout from pitch 1 of this at bat.
Potential tying run down at third. Lead run at second. It's in. 2-1. Rays got their second run on a wild pitch. 2-1 the count. And the pitch is fouled. The 2-1 curveball, and now the count is 2-2. Just enough to stay alive on a 2-2 curveball.
And you can see Casale there trying to cover just about everything. You think of the fastball, you got to react to the breaking ball. That was a pretty good one, too, by McCullers, and a nice job by Kurt Casale to just get a piece. He's thinking just put the ball in play, and this will be a run. And that's all he should be thinking.
He fouls it behind Charlie Montoyo. Breaks his bat in the process. Well, a couple of breaking balls, then the fastball. Stays alive. Battling McCullers.
And he doesn't often go to the changeup to right-handed hitters. That's more of a left-hander hitter pitch for McCullers. And that has shown itself to be true here this afternoon so far. Although he may go to it right here.
It's a 2-2 count. And he started to go and checked on the breaking ball.
Wasn't in the strike zone long enough, and it was a nice job by Jason Castro. We've already seen one get away from him for a Rays run. This ball in the dirt, he's able to smother it with Casale. Full count.
Casale looking for contact. 3-2 the count. And there's ball 4. That will load the bases. 1 out, bases loaded for the top of the order, John Jaso. who frankly has had a difficult time with McCullers today in 2 trips to the plate.
Almost like he, those first couple ABs, just not recognizing what McCullers is throwing. Just not recognizing the pitches out of the hand. But this is the 3rd time through. Jaso, an accomplished hitter, and so hopefully he's made the adjustment.
Now Brent Strom, the pitching coach, heads to the mound. Big opportunity for the Rays with the bases loaded as they trail 3-2. Time now for you to get your tweet set for your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag #SSDataStrongFan, and you just might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Yankees lead Boston in the bottom of the 3rd at Fenway. That's a 2-1 game. Washington over Baltimore in the bottom, now the top of the 5th in Baltimore, 3-1. Washington, and Kansas City leading Toronto 4-0 in the bottom of the 1st at Kansas City. And here's John Jaso. Pitch outside. Strikes him with the breaking ball. Twice he has gotten him to 2 strikes and taken care of him with a changeup. That's a cut and a miss on the change.
Well, that's the pitch that he's had trouble with, and that's the pitch that McCullers obviously goes to in a 1-0 count, feeling comfortable. I think he may be the only guy that he's been able to victimize with that changeup.
And a take this time, doubled up on the change, and it's low. 2-1. Two hits and a walk to load the bases. 1 away. 2-1 to count on John Jaso. The fastball misses. 3-1.
Every pitch he's trying to make the perfect pitch. He's not been able to keep him on the plate, flying open a little bit. You saw Jason Castro telling Lance McCullers, keep that front shoulder on your target.
A 3-1 count to John Jaso. And ball 4 is upstairs. Jaso checking with Kobe Bassner to make sure it was ball 4. And this game is tied. DeJesus crosses the plate. Elmore to 3rd. Casale up to 2nd. And Jaso suddenly realized that he had picked up a run batted in by drawing ball 4.
Wanted to make sure he wasn't going to chase that changeup anymore. Lose track of some pitches.
A 3-3 contest now. Here's Grady Sizemore. Sizemore ground ball right side. Out at 2nd, throw back to 1st, 8th there, and the Rays get the go-ahead run. Elmore crosses the plate. Casale goes to 3rd. Jaso's forced at 2nd, and the Rays lead 4-3.
Well, Grady Sizemore hit that ball off the end of the bat, didn't hit it very hard, and was busting it out of the box. And then Jaso goes in hard, forces the jump throw from Correa, and it doesn't get there in time.
It's a 2-run fifth. This is Sizemore down the line there to beat the throw from Correa. Run batted in for Sizemore. 1st and 3rd, 2 outs. Here's Evan Longoria. The pitch is a strike. Just now, the Astros get somebody up in the bullpen. McCullers starting to push 80 pitches. Number foul. Josh Fields is throwing in the bullpen. There he is. Evan is out on strikes. Curveball got him. But the Rays come up with 2, and at the end of 5, it's 4-3 Tampa Bay. Tripled in the second inning to overcome a 1-0 deficit. They scored 2 in the second. A wild pitch gave them the 2-1 lead. Jose Altuve homered on an 0-2 pitch with a man on in the 4th to make it 3-2 Houston. And the Rays, when DeJesus led off with a single in the 5th, turned that into a 2-run inning. The bases loaded walk to John Jaso. And the ground ball off the bat of Grady Sizemore, scoring Jake Elmore with the go-ahead run. So we move into the 6th. Brandon Gomes is on the mound following Matt Moore. He'll face Chris Carter. First pitch is wide. Moore for 5 innings today. 5 hits, 3 runs, and gives way to Brandon Gomes.
And Brandon on for the 30th time. This bullpen needs to cover 4 innings.
It's out of play. 1-1. Well, the bullpen now trying to close down Houston the rest of the way and give Matt Moore a chance to pick up his first win. And there are a lot of candidates down there today.
Yeah, I mean you can match up everybody with the All-Star break coming up.
1-2 now in Carter. It's been 650 days since Matt Moore picked up a win. And so he leaves this game with a 1-run lead. 2-2 the count. Goes next, and then Marisnick due up. Three and two. Moore made 88 pitches in the 5 innings he worked. 3 runs, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 5 hits, a home run. Sharply hit. And with Matt out of the game, the one thing the Rays continue to look for in Matt Moore, as we outlined at the outset, a little more command. And the big mistake was the 0-2 fastball that Altuve hit out. But nevertheless, he leaves with a chance to be the winner if the Rays can hold this lead.
It would be great for Matt Moore because of what you said and how many days it's been since he's last had a win, to be able to get that win. But there are certainly things, and he'd be the first one to tell you that he needs to continue to work on, and it will be. It's going to be a work in progress to get him back on that mound and comfortable and as efficient as he can be.
High fly ball, center field. Kiermaier waits on this one. Carter's the first out.
But while you're making that trek, if you can pick up a few wins along the way,
that makes it makes it a little bit easier.
Yes, it does. Better believe it.
Yeah, you'd love to see Matt come out of this with a win and then continue after the All-Star break to make some progress in his comeback from Tommy John surgery. L.J. Hose down to third, sharply hit to the left of Longoria and into left. Hose hit that ball very well.
And Evan Longoria didn't have much of a chance. He was playing in, even with the bag. And so you don't give yourself a whole lot of reaction time. And that ball able to sneak under the glove.
Number 20, Preston Tucker.
Preston Tucker is going to pinch hit now for Jake Marisnick with the right-hander Gomes in there. Tucker, who's been in the lineup in each of the first two games of this series. Another local product to college at the University of Florida. Tucker 1 for 4 last night with a base hit and had a hit at 4 at-bats here on Friday. It's a foul ball, strike one. Rose takes the lead. And a big cut and a miss. Fastball, and the count is now 0-2.
And I love the location of that pitch. Preston Tucker has shown a very violent swing, a strong swing, but a swing that has a tendency to be long. And so instead of feeding him something out over the plate, he throws that fastball in close and tight and is able to get it over top of that long swing.
Did he go? He did not on that one. Casale, a nice job of corralling that split. And it's now 1-2. Well, Tucker hit 24 home runs last year in 2 stops in the minor leagues, and he had 25 home runs the year before in a couple minor league stops in their system. So the Astros like his power potential. Out of Plant High School. And a cut and a miss. Fastball got him.
And do you see how long the swing is? That's 92 miles an hour. That ball with a little bit of elevation, but Preston Tucker does not shorten that swing one bit with 2 strikes, and watch how long it gets. Boy, big. Taken full advantage of by Brandon Gomes. That's when we talk about this powerful team, but a lot of holes in swings. That's exactly one of them, and the Rays have done a nice job of exploiting them.
Castro takes a breaking ball down and in. Castro looped a single into left in the second inning and reached on a fielder's choice to score a run in the fourth. Now 2 balls, no strikes. This ball gets away, but not far enough to give HOUs any ideas of attempting an advance. Runner at first, 2 gone. Kansas City has opened a 6-0 lead on Toronto. That game's now moving on to the top of the second inning. 6 in the first for Kansas City. There's a strike. 2-1. 3 of those runs came on the 11th home run of the year by Kendrys Morales. It was Felix Dubron against Volquez pitching for Kansas City. Swing and a miss. And after the fastball up, and now it's 2-2.
And if you're Brandon Gomes, you can go heater, same general area, see if you can get another chase, or that also sets itself up nice for a split here.
Inside. Now 3-2. Washington continues to lead Baltimore 3-1. In the top of the 6th at Baltimore. That's Scherzer against Chen. Runner goes, 3-2, foul. We'll do all of that again. HOUs will retrace his steps and take off on the very next pitch. There he goes, 3-2, fouled again.
Staying hard, giving him that fastball one after the other.
It's the top of the batting order, Jose Altuve. He's on deck. Gomes to make another 3-2 pitch to Castro. And it's wide. He missed by quite a margin there. So that puts HOUs in the scoring position. A walk to Castro. And we'll get back around to the top of the order. And with 2 men on and 2 men out, Jim Hickey trots to the mound.
Well, the bullpen's awfully quiet here, so this is going to talk a little bit of strategy. What they want to do right here, obviously a 1-run ball game, big pitches to be made to Jose Altuve, who hit 1 out his last time up.
Altuve hit the 0-2 pitch out. Well, you get him down 0-2. He's only 5'6", but he's strong. That drive would indicate he's hit 8 home runs. You know, here's the batting champion from a year ago, so you've got to be careful with him.
Yeah, well, and that's where that 0-2 pitch, you know, coming in, you don't want to get beat middle in, and you've got an accomplished hitter and a pitcher that was on the mound at the time, and Matt Moore, who had not been able to hit his spots consistently enough. Missed that one, and you know, he takes it out of the yard, and that's why Jim Hickey out there with Brandon Gomes with a specific game plan against Altuve because of how good he is.
So a challenge here for Gomes. Tuve, after the first pitch, fouls it. Strike one. Now Tuve had gone 1 for 10 in the series before hitting the home run in the 4th inning. And that one is fouled. 0-2. Into the dirt. A nice block by Casale on the split.
Yeah, that was way out in front. Those are the toughest ones to handle. The ones that are short hop, you can kind of smother. Those ones that are out in front of you, well, you've just got to put yourself in good position, and he does well to get around that baseball and keep it close.
One, two. Did he go? Oh, he held up on the appeal. He came close. Chad Fairchild down at first base says that's a check.
Yeah, very close. Because first of all, this bat that Jose Altuve uses is about as big as he is. I mean, he holds that thing up there, and it's a.
Yeah, that gives you an idea of the strength.
Yeah.
The Astros second baseman has to hold up on that swing. 2-2. Pop foul. That's going to be out of play. Loney's over there, but no chance. Ho's reached on the base hit. Moved to second on the 2-out walk to Castro. 2 on, 2 out. 2 balls, 2 strikes the count. Line drive foul down beyond the Houston bullpen.
Not bad. Pacifier. Baseball.
All's well with the world. Back into center field. Kiermaier's there to make the catch, and that retires the side. 2 men left. We go to the home half of the 6th. It's 4-3 Tampa Bay. Here Trying to get to the All-Star break over 500. Here's the Geico great moment in history. It was on this date just 2 years ago. David Price throwing his second consecutive complete game. However, this contest turned out to be in a losing effort as the Rays lost to Houston 2-1. That stretch where he had a 6-game stretch and threw 4 complete games.
And did you see who scored that run and picked up the bat for the Astros? It was Jake Elmore. Turncoat.
Well, Elmore scored a run today for the Rays against the Astros. Scored the go-ahead run. Here's James Loney. And he takes the pitch in there for a strike. In fact, Elmore scored the 3rd run in that 3-run inning yesterday. 1-1 to count. Loney, Forsythe, and Jesus. Lance McCullers, 82 pitches on the day. He's had 4 outings in which he's made at least 100 pitches. A week ago, he made 102 pitches in 7 innings. Well, no, 101 pitches in 5 innings against Boston. And the start before that, he made 102 pitches. Start before that, 104 pitches. And earlier on the 3rd of June, 107 pitches. So that's his single game pitch count high, 107 against Baltimore. Two balls, 2 strikes the count. Steve Geltz busy in the bullpen. Line drive, base hit into center field. 2-2 fastball, and Loney picks up his first hit today. Now the Rays put the leadoff man on so far today. And each inning that they put the leadoff man on, they've been able to score. They're going to try to do the same here in the 6th.
Getting better looks at McCullers. They're realizing that the changeup, he's just not been able to keep really anywhere near the plate. That pitch has been outside corner to a foot or 2 off to the left-handed hitters, especially. So he has been reduced to fastball, curveball, just looking for mistakes now.
Logan Forsythe. Pitch is a strike. Will Harris up in the bullpen now for Houston. Oh, 2. That was the curveball. The Boston lead on New York at Fenway is 3-2. That game heads into the 5th inning.
We just punched something to the right side with Chris Carter holding the runner on. There's nobody. Oh.
Ground ball, shortstop, and the shuffle to Altuve. Throw to first is going to be in time, and they get the double play.
They hit it right into the teeth of that defense, and that's why it's done. I mean, there was nobody on the right side with Chris Carter holding the runner at first base, and Logan pulled that breaking ball, and the Astros turn it into 2.
Well, David DeJesus base is empty, 2 gone. Strike 1 on the fastball. 0-2.
That's the best changeup he's thrown today. And that is what, if you're Lance McCullers, that's what you're looking for. That pitch right there, now that's a weapon. 89 miles an hour. He keeps it on the plate, and you see DeJesus way out in front.
So DeJesus has hurt him twice today on a fastball. He comes back with another changeup. That one is low. 1-2. Cut and a miss, a little foul tip off the curveball. So DeJesus is out on strikes. We go to the 7th, 4-3 Rays. To you by Kubota. For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to FloridaKubotaDealers.com. And by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Rays playing the Astros at Tropicana Field. Wrap-up game of the series leading up to the All-Star break. And Steve Geltz will be pitcher number 3. 5 innings from Matt Moore, an inning from Brandon Gomes. And now it's Steve Geltz, who was in the game briefly last night. Here in the 7th, he'll face Gonzalez to lead it off. Then Correa and Gaddis due up. Gonzalez now hitting left-handed. He was 0 for 2 with a walk and a run scored against Matt Moore. Foul ball, strike 1. Kobe Rasmus is now in center field. We missed that later, or earlier, I should say. And so he's obviously in the lineup when Tucker pinch hit. Tucker had gone into left. He stayed in the game. So it's Gonzalez, Correa, and Gaddis, and then Rasmus would hit 4th in this inning should they get anybody on. 1-1 to count.
And that's why Kevin Cash right now is starting to slowly warm up Xavier Cedeno down in the Rays bullpen. It's going to be a mix-and-match finish as the Rays look to secure this victory. And that's what you kind of figured this game was going to be. You know, a race to get the lead to turn it over to the bullpen. The Astros, ERA-wise, second best bullpen in the American League.
It's a sharply hit ball past Forsythe and into center, and Gonzalez is aboard to start the 7th. Yeah, you know, we talk about the home runs on this Houston club, and that's certainly the highlight of their team. But, you know, their bullpen over the last 3 seasons or so had not been very good. A ton of blown saves. and they've addressed that this year.
Yeah, the worst bullpen in the American League last year. They were awful. They're almost 2 runs better this year. You know, we saw Will Harris warming up. He's got an ERA sub-1. Definitely a stronger unit. So the feeling was 5 or 6 inning game, whoever has the lead, turn it over, and it's a race to the finish.
First pitch to Carlos Correa is a strike. Well, the one thing you'd love to do is keep that leadoff man off the bases in a close game. But the Astros have put Gonzalez aboard to open the 7th against Geltz. Well, 1-1. Two and one. Three balls and a strike.
Well, now you put yourself in a real tough position. So you're one miss away from walking the second hitter. First and second, nobody out, and you got a dangerous hitter at the plate. So you come out over the heart, and we've seen him hit a couple of balls very hard in this series. We need quality pitch right here.
3-1. And a tap third base, charged by Longoria. They'll get the out at first. Gonzalez moves up to second base.
And you'll take that for where that pitch was, because that very easily could have been a ball that was driven with authority. I mean, that was a 3-1 heater, not a lot of movement on it, right down the middle that Correa topped.
Now the Astros' big RBI guy, Evan Gattis. Drove in a run with a ground ball in the first inning. 54 runs batted in for Gattis. Gonzalez on second. Pitch is over but low. Gattis has kept Longoria busy and Evan deep at third near the line. Way wide there.
How about the backhand by Casale? That does not go smoothly, and now you've got a runner at third with one out. A hard fastball and a great backhanded scoop by Kurt Casale.
Two and 0. 3 balls, no strikes. Slider sailed high. Hickey on the phone to the bullpen. That's a strike. Slider 3-0, and it's a 3-1 count.
All the seeds stuck in Evan Gattis' beard and mustache.
Ground ball foul. Gets it back full.
Well, it's been a lot of off speed in fastball counts to Gattis, especially this ball game here. You think about Matt Moore with the curveball, confetti, and here the slider and the split.
3-2. Runner takes off for third. The ground ball to third. Longoria goes to first. And Gonzalez now at third base. Evan checked him to make sure that he didn't keep going and make that turn around third base as he made the throw to first.
Well, and he's going to get a little interference here. Look at that. You got to maintain concentration. And that's exactly right. He knows who's running in Evan Gattis. He knows he's got time, so make sure that no ideas out there by Gonzalez.
Well, Hickey holding court out there on the mound with Colby Rasmus, the left-handed bat, due up. Chris Carter behind him. 2 outs. And Gonzalez, the potential tying run. The runner at third. Coming into this series, the only Houston hitter who had faced Geltz was Rasmus. He had 1 at bat against him, and he hit a home run.
Well, so then you know what not to do. Sometimes that's just as helpful.
So here we go. It's Geltz and Rasmus here in the top of the 7th inning. The first pitch he takes for a strike. And a high fly ball back into left center, sending to Jesus to the wall. He got it right next to the 370 marker. Long shot to left center, and Jesus holds it in. Houston leaves the potential tying run at third, and it's 4-3 Rays.
Forget, coming up, the All-Star break begins after the game, and Tuesday night from Cincinnati, exclusively on Fox, coverage of the Midsummer Classic. Before the game, the 2 Rays All-Stars getting their American League All-Star jerseys. Brad Boxberger will be going to Cincinnati and representing the Rays, and Chris Archer as well. Still to be determined who is the starting pitcher of the game. Archer is certainly a candidate. And guys, one other member of the Rays family will be going to Cincinnati. Assistant athletic trainer Paul Harker will represent the American League training staff. So that'll be coming up Tuesday night, 7 o'clock on Fox, guys.
Yeah, this is a well-honored training staff here the Rays have put together, and it's great that Paul Harker is going to be part of the All-Star festivities along with Chris Archer. And Brad Boxberger.
You just hope in the case of Paul Harker that he has nothing to do.
That would be the best break he could have.
Yeah.
And truly enjoy the All-Star experience. Rays lead this one 4-3 as we move into the home half of the 7th. We're looking at Will Harris. Lance McCullers made 93 pitches today in 6 innings, had 10 strikeouts, gave up 4 runs, and departs in favor of Harris.
Now look at those numbers that jump out at you. That ERA of .89, that opponent average of 119. Saw him yesterday. He's in that low 90s range, and it's cutter after cutter, and then you'll see the curveball occasionally.
Jake Elmore leads off against him, and the pitch is outside. Well, you take a look on our Buick matchup of work out of the bullpen, and Harris among the leaders there. Wade Davis at 0.24 for Kansas City. That's quite a collection. How about a bullpen comprised of those guys? 2-0 the count on Elmore.
Starters may never get a win. 4 into the pen we go.
2-1. Ball driven into the second deck down the right side. Yankees and the Red Sox are tied moving into the 6th inning at Fenway. It's a 3-3 ball game. Kevin Jepson up in the Rays bullpen now. Elmore chops this one foul. Jake got a base hit in the 5th inning. Scored the go-ahead run. Line drive into right. It's going to stay up for Hose. Hose had it played relatively shallow and had time to come in to meet that line drive.
And I'm sure that that's how he plays a lot of right-handed hitters that aren't known for driving the ball with authority to right because of that cutter. That ball's naturally moving away from them, so they probably see that a lot. And Hose was in great position to make the play.
Here's Kevin Kiermaier. Pitch upstairs, 1-0. Foul ball, 1-1. One ball, one strike. Cut and a miss. Now 1-2. Houston threatened at the top of the inning. Left the potential tying run at third base. Kiermaier out on strikes. Cutter up, got him, and that's the 11th strikeout for Houston pitching in this game.
Number 19.
2 gone.
Well, the one thing that we knew coming into this series that we were going to see a ton of shifts and a ton of strikeouts. That was guaranteed.
And we have done that. It has held true to form. Casale hits it right up the middle, and Altuve just on the shortstop side of the bag throws out Casale. On to the 8th, 4-3 Rays. Today's game summary brought to you by Gold and Diamond Source. The Rays hold a 4-3 lead. A couple of 2-run innings for the Rays. Matt Moore worked the front 5. He is the pitcher of record for the Rays. Gave up 3 runs on 5 hits. Jose Altuve hit a 2-run home run in the 4th inning. Brandon Guyer takes over in right field. The Astros are 0 for 7 today with runners in scoring position and 0 for 16 in the series. As Kevin Jepsen comes on to face Chris Carter. Fly ball into left, and Jesus is there making the catch. 1 pitch and 1 out in the 8th, so the Rays counting outs now with this 1-run lead.
Right fielder, L.J. Holmes.
Well, the All-Star break upon us, and the Rays pick up action Friday. Rays Live, the post game, will come your way at 6:30 Friday. We'll report on the Chris Archer, Brad Boxberger All-Star experience. The rest of us will be breaking down Josh Donaldson of the Toronto Blue Jays. Jay Hose takes the pitch high. It's coming up Friday on Rays Live, the pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. No. Hose 2 for 3 in the lineup. Cedeno up again in the Rays bullpen. Two and 1. It's been Moore, Gomes, Geltz, and now Jepsen. That's a strike. Fastball, mid-90s, 2-2 the count.
Jepsen able to run it up there. Really good velocity. We see him go to the strong curveball.
He got it. Fastball 96.
I think that Kevin Jepsen could smell the finish line a few days off the All-Star break. Well, he really humped up on that fastball. 96, stay behind it, and just gas it to the outside corner.
So 2 up and 2 down. Preston Tucker is going to be the hitter. Tucker pops it foul. That'll carry out a play. Strike 1. Neshek the right-hander and Thatcher the lefty down in the Houston bullpen. Did he go? Yes, he did that time. Tucker, who pinch hit in the 6th inning and struck out, down 0-2 here. Tried to check the swing on the breaking ball, but did offer. Oh, 2. A ball and 2 strikes. Yankees have taken a 4-3 lead over Boston in the top of the 6th at Fenway. New York started the day leading Baltimore by 3. The Rays and the Blue Jays by 3.5. And 5.5 over Boston. It's a 2-2 count. Washington's coming in to hit in the top of the ninth, leading Baltimore 3-1. Two, and it's chopped to the right side where Longoria out of the shift makes the play. 1, 2, 3, go the Astros in the eighth. Rays lead 4-3. Coming up on Rays Live, the postgame presented by Checkers. Todd Callis and Doug Wechter along to anchor the coverage from left field. We'll have the Kevin Cash press conference, and Emily Austin will provide interviews from the clubhouse. Been a good day for David DeJesus. And we head into the bottom of the eighth, top of the order. Here's John Jaso. Jaso facing left-hander Joe Thatcher. The pitch is a ball. Jaso drew a big walk in the fifth inning, forcing home a run. Thatcher on for the 35th time. Base hit into left field off the bat of Jaso. A leadoff single for the Rays in the bottom of the eighth.
Joe Thatcher, as we chronicled yesterday, has a very deceptive motion, and John Jaso, a nice job of, he gets a good look at the pitcher staying open, and then closes quickly and shoots that ball into left field. Fundamentally sound, and a leadoff runner here as the Rays look to extend the lead.
Brandon Geyer's due up here. He just entered the game in the top half of this inning. With his right-handed bat, we're going to get a call to the bullpen by Houston. Houston. J-So, the base hit against the lefty. Now Brandon Guyer will be making his first plate appearance. Rays with a 1-run lead would love to carry a little cushion into the ninth as Guyer bunts foul.
Well, you thought Joe Thatcher was deceptive? Take a look at Neshek.
Yeah, these two guys are point counterpoint. I mean, that's an extreme lefty and an extreme righty back to back here.
Boy, and he even starts out. You know, he's got the glove out. He takes the ball into the glove, then comes set.
The bunt is butted foul. Completely different look.
I mean, the whole setup, and then you know it's not a guy that you're going to see very often. You've got to be able to be quick to pick up the release point, the arm slot.
Right-handers hitting 164 off him, and you could understand why.
I think 164 is high. That's actually a really good job. I mean, very little, even in the step, as he opens up wide.
Yeah, you've got to practice that by skipping rocks across the pond.
Yeah, like where do you get to the point that those are your mechanics? Like you would never be taught that. And you just kind of like, well, if I just stand here and I just like, yeah, like you said, it's like I'm a kid right across the pond.
Get them to skip 2 or 3 times, and you go, I think I've got it down.
That makes more sense than anything that I could have come up with. It's perfect.
Runner at first, nobody out. 1-2. Lifted back into center field. Rasmus back and makes the catch. So 1 away in the 8th inning in the game and all season long. Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Evan Longoria in here now against the right-hander Neshek. Evan 0 for 2 in his career against this right-hander. 1 ball, no strikes. One and one. Neshek originally got to the big leagues with Minnesota. Spent some time briefly with the Padres and then Oakland last year. He was in 71 games with the Cardinals. Into center. Will that hang up? That's going to be caught by Rasmus, and the throw to first. They're going to double up J-So. And that will end the 8th inning for the Rays. J-So thinking that ball might fall in, but it carried out to Rasmus, who easily doubles up.
Got rid of it
the Rays
quickly.
DH. We go to the 9th. Rays by 1. You know, this guy right here needs a mention or two. Jim Hickey, and when you look at all of these pitchers who've gone to the All-Star game, well, he's been the pitching coach. 11 full seasons as a pitching coach, and look at that roster.
Listen, I got a chance to work side by side, actually underneath Jim Hickey, and watch how he goes about his business. He's the most prepared pitching coach you're going to find. I mean, he doesn't miss a trick. He relates well to all of his pitchers. He knows what he's talking about. He knows mechanics. He knows ideas. He knows how to attack hitters. And he just has put it together. And, well, yeah, look at him. And I think only one had made an All-Star game before they worked with Jim Hickey. I think that was Roger Clemens.
Oh, he had a chance to do it on his own. Here's Brad Boxberger. Yeah, Hickey has been excellent here in his run with the Rays, as he was over in Houston. Brad Boxberger gets strike one on Jason Castro to start the ninth inning. So Boxberger on here protecting a one-run lead. He has Castro, then Altuve, and Gonzalez due up. 1-1. Boxberger finished off the game here on Friday night, a 3-1 Rays win. Finished last night's 3-0 win. And the Rays are up 4-3 right now. The cut and a miss. 1-2.
Boy, a little bit tardy too. 92 miles an hour, and Castro, that's what Boxberger does. That swing, it was almost like he's trying to cover both pitches, the fastball and the changeup, which is impossible to do. And that's why Boxberger can run up such high strikeout numbers.
And he takes care of Castro. Finished him with a fastball.
You know, you go back to Castro's last at bat, and the way that Brandon Gomes was going after him with just fastball after fastball in attack mode. And same thing here with Boxberger, and he's just tardy.
One away. Now we go to the top side of the order. Jose Altuve, who back in the fourth inning hit a 2-run home run. He takes the ball. His 8th home run of the year. Came on an 0-2 pitch off Matt Moore. Moore continues to be the pitcher of record in this game. Ooh, pretty close, and that's a ball, says Toby Basner. 2-0.
Close, really close.
That's a strike. 2-1.
And that one wasn't much higher. You know, you got to remember. I mean, it looks like it's down in the zone, you know, relatively speaking. But you know, Jose Altuve, what 5'6", 5'7" inches tall. You got to know the size of your hitter up there too.
Ground ball headed up the middle, but right there's Forsythe, and the throw to first. So the Rays using their defense. They had Forsythe on the shortstop side of second, positioned perfectly for that ground ball. So 2 outs here in the ninth. Marwin Gonzalez, who has a walk and a single today, playing third base. So the Rays 1 out away from sweeping Houston. That's too low. Out front. Ball, 1 strike.
A beautiful change up there by Brad Boxberg. You know, he said that he thought that he was tipping his pitches going back to the walk-off grand slam that Paulo Orlando hit off him in Kansas City. And since then, he has been lights out. Said he made the correction, and it should not be an issue, and that's exactly how he's pitching.
Fly ball, center field. Kiermaier, all kinds of room. Rays sweep Houston. Brad Boxberger with a 1-2-3 night. And the Rays win it 4-3. They'll go into the All-Star break a game over 500. Rebounding from a very difficult stretch, including that last road trip. They come in here and take 3 from Houston, the American League West Division leading Houston club. We'll see if that stands. They had a half-game lead on the Angels. And the Angels play in Seattle a little later. So the Rays win it 4-3. 4-5-0 for the Rays with just 2 left. 3-7-0 for Houston with 8 left. And Matt Moore picks up the win. His first win in 650 days, coming back from Tommy John surgery. A save for Boxberger. That's number 23 for Boxberger. And the local standout, young Lance McCullers, the losing pitcher. His record is 4-3. Let's go to the field right now to Todd Callis.
Dwayne, thanks. David DeJesus with me, 4-3 victory. You were one of the few guys able to solve Lance McCullers. You had 2 of the 4 hits against him. What did you think about the kid out of Tampa?
No, he's pretty good. Hold on a second. I got to do this.
It's heavy. And that's a rare variation there. You went for the head dunk first?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it. I was like, I wanted to get included in it, since it's because it's the Splash Brothers, but it's always fun to get a win.
So McCullers, you were able to solve him a couple times, but he seemed tough against the rest of the guys.
Oh, definitely. I try to just jump on him early. You saw on tape, you saw that he has electric stuff. 96 with cuts sometimes, curveball, changeup. So he has a bright future, but we were able to get some runs off him and get enough to get to our bullpen where we feel that we can get a win at any time.
Yeah, what about this series? You guys come off a really tough road trip. You had lost 12 out of 13. To take out this team not once, but not twice, but to sweep the first-place team in the AL West.
It's huge for us, especially after the tough week we had, coming back here where we haven't had a lot of success at the Trop. To run off 3 to a first-place team, it shows our pitching. Our pitching was back. We feel that this break's going to give our bullpen some time to, get refreshed, and we're excited for the second half.
When you were on third and you scored on the walk to John Jaso, were you and Charlie Montoya the only 2 that knew what was going on?
He was just, be ready for something because he has electric stuff, so he might block, bounce it. And once I saw it bouncing away to the side, I'm like, let's take a shot, and we were able to get a lead there.
So you score on that wild pitch, and I'm talking also about the Jaso walk. Jaso is that typical John Jaso?
Yeah, he got me. I had no clue. I was like, wait. I thought I counted 4, but you never know. But we're just happy to get the lead and get a win.
Final question going into the All-Star break, a very important one. You're now including the fans with the show here. It looks like kind of like a flume ride. If you're in the first row, beware.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, we're giving the fans, want to cool them off, keep them nice and cool here. So we're just having fun with it.
Thanks, David.
All right, baby.
All right, guys, back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. Rays winners here. It's a 4-3 final as they complete this sweep over Houston. Rays scored 10 runs, had 16 hits in this 3-game series, and win all 3. 4-3 the final. Rays pick up action after the All-Star break in Toronto at 6:30 Friday on Sun Sports. Brian Anderson, Todd Callis, and the rest of our crew, Dwayne Stats. Hope you've enjoyed the telecast. Rays Live, the postgame, is next.